Hi, everybody. Mary here. I'm so excited to chat with one of my major gift coaching clients, Lindsay. Lindsay works for the Hearing, Speech, and Deaf Center of Seattle, and she is frankly a powerhouse when it comes to running that entire program. She's actually a co-executive director, and she also is been recently put in charge of development, which we're going to talk more about very soon. So, Lindsay, how are you?
I'm fabulous. Thank you
Okay,
so
great.
much for inviting me, Mary. I
Yeah.
love chatting with you.
Same. So you're an executive director, a co-ED,
LED.
and tell us how you came to be running the development department.
So I didn't start out as a co-ED. I started out as an executive director about 10 years ago with this organization. And although we are based in Seattle, we serve all of Washington, which can be a little stressful sometimes, right? Because it's a lot to cover. We're the leaders in the field when it comes to deaf and hard of hearing and communication. And so I thought a lot about what it would be like to be in partnership with others. And then when the pandemic hit, the rubber really hit the road. And we realized that we needed more thought partners. We needed more people that we could be in partnership with. So Ariel Bello, who is my co-director, who's fantastic, she had been running one of the major departments, and she really loved program development. And I really loved the business side. I loved the fund development and the talent development. That part of the business was always very appealing to me. And so it was almost like kismet. It was a match made in heaven. We just happened to be in the same place at the same time. And we both loved our organization so much that we thought, if we're going to get it to the next level, we should really work together. And I'm just one of those personalities, I think a lot of nonprofits are, where I work better in partnership. And so that was the real driver for us, is that we could sort of conquer and divide. So I think a lot of people have this, this misconcept or this idea that, oh, well, I'm paying for two people. Why am I paying for two leaders? Or why
Mhm.
are we duplicating efforts? When actually what you're getting is sort of a 2-for-1.
Yes.
And so that was really the appeal for Ariel and I. And then I've always loved the development part because
Mhm.
that's really the relationship piece. A lot of people are scared about fundraising. Oh my God, I got to ask these people for money. I've got to put my hand out. It's really not that. It's about inviting people into a space that they're already passionate about. And so when Carol left, who is our fantastic development director, who I worked with many, many years in the field,
Love her.
um, we had a chance to sort of really lean in to that de-siloing, right? Because you sort of have these EDs, and then you have these directors, and then you have frontline. Is we thought, what a great way to sort of de-silo, and I could actually be more involved in the process. And I think that only helps the people who give have more information and more detail.
Yeah. Okay. Love that. And I think you hit the nail on the head. You and Ariel together, like the love is real. Like it's
She is my sis from another miss, as I like to say.
love that. Love it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
speaking of partnerships, so we had Carol, who we love Carol. And then Carol decided to make a change in her life. And so talk to us about what made you consider major gift coaching as a co-ED.
We are seeing a change in fundraising. To sort of get back to your question about why we do this and where are we going with this, is that this was an opportunity for someone who was very versed in the field of fundraising and giving to actually mentor someone to be sort of the next in the pipeline. And again, an executive director should sort of know the whole picture about the
Yeah.
business and learning the techniques that you need to know around fund development, around tracking, around data, all of that sort of merged quite nicely, that it actually became a lot more efficient, even though it seems like, oh, I'm just absorbing something else. No, it was actually much more efficient. And then those people in the field can move on to their sort of next level. So everybody's sort of, it's the water raising all of the boats, right? Everybody's sort
Yes.
of to move to the next thing. So although we don't have the same development director, that development director is now off doing more coaching, like what you do, Mary,
Yes.
right? And so you have a wider reach now, as opposed to just one org to sort of build that next generation. And now I'm fully launched, right? And now I can look within the org and say, who else can help me with this? That's the other key element. We have this co-director model, but
Mhm.
it's also really based and rooted in that shared leadership.
Yeah.
We all have to do this. We all have a piece in this, and we can figure out how to do that together.
Yes. And Ariel's so lovely, right? Like she has connections. She leans in when we need her to lean in. Well, she deserves a parade. I mean,
Yes, she does. And that's the other piece too, is I think recognizing you can't do it all. The
yes.
nonprofit loves, we sort of, oh, this unicorn phenomenon. I love being a unicorn. Ariel loves being a unicorn, but it's not realistic at the end of the day. And so I can't change the skin that I'm in, and neither can Ariel. And so I think that's also a piece, is we both bring very real lived experience to the table.
Yep.
And that, again, we can just sort of shine the light. And where I have a weakness, she can sort of lean into that strength to support me, and vice
Yes.
versa. So that's the
Yes.
other piece that I think is really, really critical to this.
Yes. Well said. So you and I, we have spent a lot of time together over the last 2 years, and
Yes.
we've worked on events together. We've worked on, rebuilding your sponsorship and how we approach. Seattle has a lot of big corporations. So what can we offer that is different from every other nonprofit, that's knocking on their doors? We've closed some major gifts. So could you just tell people, like, what is it? What is from your perspective, what is an hour long coaching session? Like, what are some of your favorite parts, and how does it normally roll?
Yes. So I love working with you, Mary, because again, you don't ever want to feel like you're on an island. And so I think having the coaching really is that thought partner piece, because sometimes you get, it's sort of tunnel vision, right? Everybody
Yes.
who's in the org is in the org. We know so much that having just a little bit of that separation, somebody like you who coaches,
Mm-hmm.
it's fantastic, because you can bring some perspective of, I don't really understand what this means, or where are you going with that?
Yeah.
Because those are the same things that the people that I'm approaching are going to ask. So that is huge. I love that part of it. I also like, again, just feeling like I'm not alone. You want to trust your judgment, but you don't know all the things all of the time. And so just having someone who can give you some validation, or can say the things that you need to hear, but in a way that you can receive them,
Yeah.
is also, it has been amazing. I really love that. You're also just so great, Mary, around the database piece, right? Technology is not necessarily my jam. I can learn things, I can do things, but that's the part that stresses me out. And so
Yeah.
having also someone who has a little bit of that component,
Yeah.
is really helpful, because I sort of bring, the heart and the gut, right? The tuition piece, but you got
Yeah.
to have a really good brain that's operating all of the pieces behind the curtain.
Yeah. Well, and we've spent our time together. Well, thank you for all of that. But we've spent a lot of time, writing emails to donors, like really thinking through, what is the message that we want to say to this one particular person to either get them engaged, and we've even spent time trying to re-engage people who have not been engaged in a while because of COVID and because of life circumstances, and all of the things. So how did you operate before when it comes to fundraising versus how you operate now?
So before, I think in general, we'll sort of go bigger
Yeah.
picture down in. I think in general, fundraising has shifted, just the way that we do fundraising, the world that we live in. We're trying to create a more equitable world.
Yes.
Everybody wants to know where their investment is going. Back in the day, you had things like United Way, right? Where people just sort of gave to campaigns and giving, and then they knew that they would then vet all of the places and give the money where it needed to go.
Yeah.
That infrastructure doesn't really exist anymore. You're seeing a younger philanthropic generation who just operates differently for a myriad of reasons. How we
Yes.
receive information, how we track information, and they want to know that their money is going where it needs to go. The other piece is the experience piece, right? Again,
Yes.
people have lots of things. I think we're moving away from some of that consumerism. This isn't a transactional game anymore, if you will, right? I give you this and then you give me that, right? I think now, again, people are looking for more of that long term. Did I solve a problem? Did I help this organization? Am I giving to a sinking ship, or am I giving to someone who is actually going to be here like HSDC, we've been around for almost 88 years. Are they going to be here for the next, 80 to 100 years? So
Yes.
I think that's also the part that was a big learning experience for me, Mary, is
Yes.
it doesn't have to be hard. Sometimes just those little tiny touches or emphasis on that specific person's questions or needs goes a really long way. And then that builds momentum because
Yeah.
it really is a network, right? Starting that one email, like you said, where I'm like, is it too much? Is it not enough? How do we do this?
Yeah.
Pacing is very
Yes.
important.
The
So when
pacing.
you have those two lines, right? And then that goes out, it's received well, or you get engagement, then that person tells their friends tell their friends, and
Yeah.
they sort of build that all along the way, which is
Yes.
really good.
Well, and I loved what you said about not giving to a sinking ship, because we've had conversations about this, and I've had a lot of my coaching clients, they're so passionate about closing the gift that they tend to paint this really desperate picture, because from their perspective, they're saying to the donor, like, look, we have this amazing need, or this like incredible deficit, or whatever it is that donor can help fill. But from the donor's perspective, it might look like a sinking ship. And so it's really important to think through how things are framed and paced. And so we've spent a lot of time on that. The other thing I want to bring up is we've had a lot more success with your board lately.
Yes.
So uh, just for the audience, Lindsay and I did a board workshop in the spring,
Yep.
and it was all about storytelling. And so we taught the board how to think about their story, like really spend a minute thinking about why are they a board member and what brought them to HSDC and why do they stay. And so can you talk a little bit about what's come out of that workshop?
Yes, I think that's also huge. People join boards for various reasons,
Mhm.
but the core is they want to serve. They are people in service. And so, again, a lot of times this idea of, I don't want to ask my friends for money. People have different relationships with money for various
Oh, sure.
reasons. So, doing a complete reframe of all you need to be concerned about is, why are you an ambassador to this organization? That's it. Why do you love your spouse? Why do you love your kids? Why do you love going to this, certain activity? That's exactly the same. You should talk about that. That passion should be translated exactly the same for the organizations that you serve on. And so, my board, they went through a lot too, sort of recognizing when I came to the organization was in crisis. They
Mhm.
had no idea if they were going to fold or merge with another org, or, really downsize, because they did not have the resources necessary, because there had been some mismanagement around the different siloings of departments, which happens very easily because that's what you do when you're in survival mode. I'll
Yes.
just sort of focus on this because this will be successful.
Yep.
And so the board had a really nice, again, opportunity when you see some change. How do you lean into that to
Mhm.
maximize it? And my board members, Mary, I was telling you, when they finally got into their brains, like, okay, I'm just telling my story. Why am I here? Why am I
Yeah.
connected to the org? And these are professionals. These
Yes.
people run organizations. They work for major
Big
corporations.
corporations.
They have huge, the sign for sort of, they have roots in the community. And
Yes.
so for them to feel like, wow, this is a real honor for me to talk about this organization, I think was very inspiring. And so then they inspired each other. So
Yeah.
it's not this like, I don't even know the word for it, but sort of this idea of like, oh, we pity these people that we're serving in this org. No, I'm the people. You serve me, right? I get services. These people get services. This is my circle. Because again, we are deaf and hard of hearing and those with communication, diversity.
Yeah.
And that's in every single area,
Yes.
every age, every gender, every religion, every background, right? And so I think that just focusing on where are we all similar, and then tell that story. And then with your help, Mary, to sort of create that thread and have a cohesive message went really, really far. And people want to have fun, right? People want to go to
Yeah.
events. Yes, we need to show a need.
Yes.
We do need to like feel inspired. I get teary when I think about even now, some of the things that we offer because they're so amazing.
Yes.
but they want to leave on a high note. They want to feel lifted up. And so when our board members did this storytelling, we framed it in a board retreat, which I
Yeah.
thought was brilliant. And having that time to just be in the space together, which people again already crave doing because the pandemic hit. And we did a lot of the online stuff previous, but then we just, okay, now we're together for 3 to 4 hours. Let's really hit this out of the park.
Yeah.
And they did it. They hit that ball over
Oh,
the fence. And then when everybody came together, it was such a celebration that we could sort of, fly on that high for a while. It was really great. I loved the storytelling piece. That was a big reframe for me as well. It was fantastic.
it really was monumental that day. I mean, we spent a lot of time. I mean, and just so the audience knows, these stories that came out of the board members were so heartfelt. Like I just got chills just thinking about, and so meaningful and purposeful that we ended up kind of pivoting our event strategy a little bit to incorporate these amazing stories. So we recently had an event. It was the most successful event that HSDC ever had.
Highest amount we've raised to date, which is pretty incredible. Yeah,
And
we raised something like $215,000 in 2 hours.
yes,
Which is insane. I mean, yes, there was all of this 5 months worth of pre-work, right? And you and I really being delicate around the steps and the process.
yeah.
But yeah, it was huge.
Well, but when people came into that room, and we had 3 board members who just had incredible stories, stand up and tell the same story that they told at that board retreat, people started raising their paddle very quickly and very frequently. And so it really does come back to the connection, the community. I mean, all of the things, Lindsay, that you and Ariel and HSDC stand for. We were really able to kind of encompass it in that experience. And
yep. And I think that was also a key element, is that they had real ownership in this.
yes,
I think it's very easy to, the development director will take care of this, or the development department, or it's the ED's job. When we sort of framed it to them to say, the success of this event really hinges on you. This is your event. What do you want this event to be? And just allowing them to sort of visualize what that means to them. I think that helped a lot. This was their event, and it's going to be successful or not based on how you guys do this. I think also a lot of times nonprofit leaders, they sort of complain about their board. Oh, they want all these things. They have no idea. When you think about it, the infrastructure doesn't really make sense, right? You have a group of people who have the most power, but who have the least sort of knowledge. I have a board meeting once a month, right? And I'm giving them information, and they make critical decisions when they're not really in the day-to-day operations. And so again, I think having them be part of this, saying, this is your revenue line, and these are your stories, and we can do this together, and we're going to guide this process together. And then, like you said, they sort of talked about it, and they talked with each other. That also builds relationships with each other, which I think is a give back. But yes, we complain about our boards. And when people ask me, I go, oh my gosh, I love my board. I love my board. My board is my counsel. My board, when I feel like, why am I doing this every day? They're the ones who say, we're doing this because of this, right? And again, their stories allowed them to call people in to their circle. So we have, one of our board members who told his story. He recently moved from one corporation to another, and he's like, I'm going to invite my boss. And his boss came, and his boss was like, oh my, I had no idea. And so in 2 hours, gets all of this knowledge about this person that hopefully he'll be working with for a really long time. And they're trying to make change within their group. And so that also is the domino effect. That's really, really, critical.
Well, and that board member gave 4 figures, like that boss gave 4 figures when he named his employee.
Yeah. So it was really lovely to have them be there.
So Lindsay, last question, because I don't want to take you away from any fundraising time, is so we've been working together for about 2 years now when it comes to like the major gift coaching. I have a lot of calls with people who are just like, I'm on the fence. Like, do I need a coach? Like, what would you say to somebody who's like on the fence of whether or not they should work with a major gift coach?
get off the fence, get that coach.
Love it.
Yeah, I get it. It's a spend,
Yeah.
right? And we should not be myopic and really consider the ROI, the return on investment. I have to justify to my, I have a finance department. I work very closely with my finance director. I work very closely with the other business line, the other directors of the different departments, interpreting and speech and audiology and advocacy and all of our education services.
Yeah.
And I have to justify to them this spend as well.
Yeah.
And so when they said to me, I said, okay, I have this idea. I think I should lean into the space because I'm the one who knows this community. I'm the one who knows our donors. Our donors often are people who also get services from us, right? But I said, I need a little extra. I need someone who can read those emails, or if I'm thinking this strategy, are we on the right track? What have you seen in the industry? That is where you came in, Mary. And that's where Mary Hackett and Databasey really took us to the next level, because that amount of money that I pay you to help me do that piece is tiny in comparison to what we were able to actually get to. Again, this was the largest fundraising event to date for us. And that happened because of the major giving coaching, because once I got this one person sort of engaged, then the board was inspired. Then somebody else said, oh, well, you're doing a match. I want to do a match. And then they brought all their people in and they said, well, I work for a corporation that does matching. I'm going to match, right? And this snowball effect really happened quite quickly because of that. And it's an investment. So you have to give yourself time. You have to give yourself that patience. And that's also where the coaching comes in. This is a normal part of the process. Hang back for a minute. Okay, we're going to go forward a little bit. Just really, we use the word choreograph because it really is this dance.
It is.
You have to sort of dance through this so that you don't mess it up. And if you do mess it up, there is room for that. That's also, I am not perfect. Sometimes the message doesn't land right, or I think that I've communicated this thing. But because I have the relationship with the person and there's that trust built in because of the coaching around how often we're connecting with them and what we're giving back to them, we're honoring their commitment. There's space to go, oh, that didn't really go the way that I wanted. We should do it this way. I remember a very specific donor that you and I worked with who was very connected to the org, got services from us, has an alumni kiddo, right? And so 25 years of history, we're talking here. And we sort of made a proposal. They weren't interested. Okay, did I offend them? No, I didn't offend them, but they're not interested. You and I sort of went back and thought about other areas because we knew we could get there. And we got them there. And the place that we got them, I think in the long run, was the best space ever, because it was actually a place for us to upgrade in one of our departments, which means that my frontline staff were happier, which means they see more people, which means that the next generation could be served. So all doing that with that one person going, what do you really want? Where do you really see this? And being in partnership with them, as opposed to give me this money and then you get this thing. It's not transactional. It's like, look at this thing that you did. This is a legacy for you. That's where your money should be going, not on a price tag. It should be going for a legacy. And that is something I learned from you, Mary, for sure.
Lindsay. Okay, you're such a day maker. Every time we meet. Well, you and I, we have closed 6-figure gifts together.
Yes, we have.
We have worked through very difficult donors who need a lot of information, and they ended up writing a 5-figure gift. I look forward to doing this with you for many, many, many more 5, 6, and 7-figure gifts.
Me too. Audience, I just want you to know, I was like, Mary, you will be retiring with me. You and I will retire together. So hopefully she'll hang on with me for a few more years, because this is my community, right? I am representative of the community that we serve. So this isn't just a job for me. And so I appreciate you, Mary, for recognizing that the stakes are higher.
It's high. It's a big deal. Yes. All right, Lindsay, a million thank yous. Have a great day. Go raise some money.
Go raise some money. Thank you. Thank you. This is time for thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Mary.
Thanks.